you can absolutely learn this knot, okay? Let me share with you a story that I like to think about when I come up with hands-on challenges like these. So, when I was in 6th grade, imagine little Rodolfo walking into computer class. It was a mandatory computer class, and we all gathered around this one student because this student was here, but he already knew how to type. And so the teacher brought us over and to use him as an example. And we all gathered around him and we peered onto the screen, and he sat there and he looked around, and the teacher told him to please type, and he started typing. And all of a sudden I just saw him, just a flurry of fingers, just tap dancing over the keyboard. The words were streaming onto the screen, and we were all just amazed because we were at the point of learning A, S, S, S. And I said, I don't think I can reach that point, what he's doing there. That's not attainable. But you do it step by step and you reach it, and we're gonna do that for this knot, okay? So, I tried to hire a hand model for this, to show you this, but you know, I couldn't teach him. That's not true. Anyone can do this knot, that's my point. If you can tie your shoelaces, you can do this knot. By the way, I don't like tying shoelaces. In 8th grade, so moving on to 8th grade, I wore Velcro shoes. Why? Because they're efficient. And I was a pretty cool 8th grader. I actually don't wear shoelaces now. I wear the adult versions of the Velcro, which are these. They also work very well. I'd recommend them. But you can do this knot. That's my point here. What we have here is a square knot, okay? It's also called the reef knot. And as I was investigating some of the literature behind it and some of the history behind it, I found that this was actually a knot that Roman brides would tie their girdles with, and then the Roman husband would untie these the night of the marriage, and that would be an omen of prolific offspring, is how the book put it. And I put the book in your resources. So let's learn to tie this square knot that even the most excited Roman couple would not be able to untie. Let me move to the board. The one-hand square knot refers to a knot carried out with one end of the suture on one hand while the other hand is carrying out the maneuvers of that knot, okay? So what we have here is I've broken it down to 2 acts and 5 scenes. 2 acts, each act being a throw, and 5 scenes being each component of that throw broken down like a fraction into individual movements, okay? I'm gonna teach both the left and the right. I think regardless of whether you're right-handed or left-handed or ambidextrous, you need to know both ways to do this. Left-handed is the way I prefer. That's just my preference, even though I'm right-handed. I feel I've practiced more left-handed. But I've broken down with each movement here something that you can use as a mnemonic of sorts for each. And the red that you'll notice is actually the only difference between the two. So these are just mirror images, and we'll delve into what each of these movements actually mean. Also, be sure to check your resources because I'll have this also displayed there. It might be helpful to watch the video and follow along with the resource. All right, let me get to the table. For this demonstration, I wanted to use something that I know every medical student will have, so I started off with a stethoscope. You can use whatever you like, of course. When I was practicing, I used also my belt loop and also a soda can, but we'll use a stethoscope for this demonstration. I have a piece of yarn here, 2 colors for color coding. Now there's some themes that I want to touch on for this entire knot, for this entire process. So themes to follow throughout. Generally, you want to keep these strings taut, okay? This allows you to more easily manipulate and hook your fingers and do the movements. And one of the things that I thought about is that a sagging string in this scenario is like soggy cereal. You know, you won't enjoy it, you won't like it, don't let it get soggy, all right? Keep it tight, keep it taut. And remember to decide that it's going to be a right-handed sequence when we do this cross to start the entire knot. We want the hand dominating this dance to be on the string that's most away from you. So on top of the other. That's what decides which hand will be dancing, okay? The post. Being that this is a right-handed one-hand knot, the right hand will be doing all the action. The left hand will serve as your post. That means that's your stationary hand. It's going to maintain what I call the revolver position, okay? It can just be very relaxed here. What this allows you to do is you hold the string a little bit with your pinky and a little bit with your with your ring, and This allows you to grasp other objects. So if you're grasping another instrument, a clamp, anything else that you have in your hand. The other thing that the post allows you to do in having a stationary post, means that you can have the needle on this end. Which, when I was in surgery, it made me kind of nervous to have the needle flopping around while I made my movement. So that's another allure of this one-handed approach to this knot. The left hand is your post. It's a revolver position. And we also start with the revolver position in the right hand, which will be doing all the movements. So, Act 1, Scene 1 will be the revolver. We have the pinky holding some tension on the right hand, along with a little of the ring finger. And you have that revolver shape right here. Now, you start into the Scene 2 backwards C. The backwards C refers to the shape your index and your thumb make. So you see how that is a C? Backwards C, and it actually almost looks like a D if you include the string in that shape. Okay, so that's your backwards C. Revolver, Scene 1, backwards C, Scene 2. Then you make then you do the mini hook, thread, and pull. I'm gonna do that one more time for you. All right. Post is your left hand. Right hand is your action because it has the string that's most away from you on top of the other string. Revolver. Keeping some tension. Remember, no soggy cereal. Backward C. Cross under with the index mini hook. Thread. And pull that out. And then get some tension in there. Alright? So let's go to Act 2. You start with an OK sign. OK. Meaning you grab with your right index and thumb, almost like a pincer. You grab that string, you make an OK sign. That's an OK sign in some countries that means something very different in others. OK sign though. And now from this OK sign, you're going to go into the karate chop. And what do I mean by that? I mean you take these 3 fingers and you karate chop into that string. And then you make sure to keep that tension. Alright? So OK, karate chop. Then you do a figure 4. And what do I mean by figure 4? Look at that. If you use a little bit of perspective there, you see how that makes a figure 4? This is the longest side of it. And then it's a figure 4. Figure 4. Alright, so, OK, karate chop, figure 4, then this is the the middle mini hook at the DIP joint, and you thread that blue, meaning that string of this right hand through. Okay, I'm going to show you that again. So you got the OK, you set your tension, you got your OK sign. You karate chop it, you make the figure 4, you middle finger mini hook and thread, pull it through, and this is actually something that's I call a crossover, because part of this square knot, meaning it alternates every time you throw down. So last time, remember when we pulled that way, and we threw down with our right hand going that way. This time we're going to alternate that, and every time you use the karate chop on the second scene, you're going to actually pull the opposite way. So you pull down and you lay tension like that. Okay? Now let's keep on going. So back to scene 1 of Act 1. Remember, you start with the revolver, backwards C or capital D, however you like to think about it. You do the triangle, and what do I mean by the triangle? I mean that formation right there, you've just created a triangle. And with that triangle, now you can index mini hook at the DIP joint, thread it. See, I didn't keep tension there. But you thread it, pull it through, and you're pulling on that same side. As in you throw down, that's the 5th scene of this first act. You throw down and you pull the same direction, meaning to the right. Now remember, Act 2, Scene 1 is OK. You karate chop, make that figure 4. In middle mini hook at the DIP joint, you thread this into the loop you just made. And remember that this scene 5 is going to have that crossover as you throw down. Crossover, throw down. And then you go back. And you keep doing this however many times you feel is necessary to achieve a secure knot. Your tendon can give you more an idea. You can feel it out. You can start looking up which would be most appropriate for the surgery you're in, etc. You continue like this. Okay? Alright. Alright, so let's learn the left-handed sequence now. We have our stethoscope here, our suture color-coded, and remember, who is going to lead this dance is dictated by the string that is most away from you on top of the other string. So the left-handed string is the orange one, and we know that it's going to be a left-handed sequence because it's a string that's above the other and it's most furthest away from you. Okay? So, post is now going to be your right hand, and that has the revolver position, and you can grasp the other instruments and have your needle there and know where it is and secure at all times. Your left hand is also going to start on a revolver. And this time, instead of a backwards C as we did with the right-handed, is going to be a normal C, a regular C. So, revolver, C. Revolver, C. There's that C. Revolver, C. And I didn't mention this before, but the triangle that I was referring to is formed right there. You can see that. It's actually a very, very nice triangle we formed. See how that the two sides on facing pointing up are the orange, and then the base is the blue, and that's your triangle that I was referring to. And it really comes to be a lot more noticeable when you have already laid down a throw. That's why I didn't mention it before in the right-handed sequence. So revolver, C, triangle, mini hook with the index, and thread. Mini hook and thread. And we're going to do that one more time. Revolver, C, triangle, mini hook at your DIP joint of your index finger, thread, and you're going to throw that down right there on the same side, pulling on the same side with which hand is leading this sequence. All right, so you set some tautness to it, and now you're in Act 2, Scene 1, and that's okay. The first scene is okay, and then Karate Chop is Scene 2, and now you do a backwards figure 4, and if it wasn't clear what the figure 4 was before, this is a backwards one. 4. It's not a regular 4. It's another way to write that 4. And there's your 4. So, okay, Karate Chop, backwards figure 4, middle finger mini hook, thread, and then instead of, remember last time on that first act, when you threw down, you didn't cross over, you just threw down. But remember on this second act, you have to cross over, meaning you pull, and you pull down on the opposite side, on the contralateral side with which you're leading this entire sequence. And now you've completed the knot. So let's do it again. Let's keep on going, because you won't just throw one knot that way. You'll have to get a couple to get some security. Revolver. Make sure keep no soggy cereal. Keep it taut. Revolver. C by tucking your thumb underneath that string. Make it that triangle. Triangle is very noticeable now. It almost looks like a structure in St. Louis. Index mini hook. Thread it through. You notice that? You notice that? We'll do that one more time, because that can be where people get lost. Revolver. Tuck that thumb under. Makes a C. Triangle. Index mini hook. Thread. Throw down. Scene 2, Act 2, Scene 1, okay. Karate Chop. Backwards figure 4. Middle mini hook. Thread. And on this, when you thread it through, it's really easy to, you put that string between your ring and your middle and just use that as your grip on it. And remember, before laying it down, before throwing it down, you have to cross over and throw it down that way. Alright, so I'm just going to step through it a little more quickly. Revolver, C, triangle, mini hook, index mini hook, thread, throw down. Okay, karate chop, backwards figure 4, middle, mini hook, thread, crossover, throw down. And I'll keep doing that for a few sequences. And one thing that you notice is, as you start to practice it more and more, you realize that when you do the karate chop, you won't need all 3 fingers. So if you notice, I just did 2 fingers. And that would be great because you won't always have this much amount of suture to work with. So you reflexively will start using less fingers as you realize that you don't need as many of those movements as purposefully as when you're learning it first. Stethoscope is jumpy, but there you go. And it almost looks like something you can make a bracelet out of. Ignore that knot in the middle. That's the knot I used to join the blue and the orange yarn. There you go. So that's what I got for you. I'm confident that you can do this knot, that you can learn it. The key to this is really practicing. So I haven't been in surgical rotation in about 1.5 years, but I still practice every week. And you know, I don't use the yarn or the stethoscope technique, but you can definitely do that. Easy to buy these at Michael's, whatever you'd like. What I do to keep up practice is something I do every week, and something that I hope you're doing every week is I just practice on everyday things. So this is my garbage. I tie my bags with the surgical knots just to keep it fresh in my mind, keep it useful. And that's how I've been able to keep it since I learned it 1.5 years ago. So right now, what I have to do is take out this trash. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go throw this away now. I'm gonna go throw this away now. And I know this knot is secure. That was pretty lame. That's all right.